Many establishment types in the U.S. and around the world are criticizing Tucker Carlson for interviewing Russian President Vladimir Putin, even though many other American journalists have done so.
His name is Tucker Carlson, and he is the only American journalist who has been able to interview Putin since the invasion in 2022.
Tucker Carlson is not a journalist.
Putin talks to an American friend, the Russian president turning to right-wing conspiracy theorist Tucker Carlson.
And it comes as Kremlin propagandist Tucker Carlson, a leading voice of the right-wing disinformation campaign.
During a war between Russia and Ukraine that Americans are spending billions on, Carlson thinks that Americans should hear Russia's side of things. And he's right. It's important.
Here's why we're doing it. First, because it's our job. We're in journalism. Our duty is to inform people. 2 years into a war that's reshaping the entire world, most Americans are not informed.
Ironically, he is there in the name of keeping Americans informed.
Listening to what our enemies have to say does not excuse or justify their actions, nor does it make them not evil. I thought Putin was evil long before the Ukraine conflict. But it does give citizens better context to form their opinions, and you have to hear it all before you do that.
Most Americans have no idea why Putin invaded Ukraine or what his goals are now. They've never heard his voice. That's wrong. Americans have a right to know all they can about a war they're implicated in, and we have the right to tell them about it because we are Americans too. Freedom of speech is our birthright. We were born with the right to say what we believe. That right cannot be taken away no matter who is in the White House. But they're trying anyway.
Somebody that we know, that we used to know, going over, doing Vladimir Putin's bidding.
It was striking again yesterday to see Republicans across the board, and maybe some of them are doing Vladimir Putin's bidding.
After 9/11, politicians and the establishment press said that the terrorists just hated us for our freedom, an answer that could only satisfy a child. But Osama bin Laden and the terrorists did have reasons for why they committed 9/11, and they told us those reasons. This did not justify their actions, it did not excuse the mass murder they committed, and it didn't make them any less evil. They were absolutely evil. But most Americans never heard their reasons. If something like that were to happen again, and I'm personally worried about that right now, given what we're funding in the Middle East, people would be like, where did this come from? Because you didn't know. Before the Iraq War, Americans were simply told that Saddam Hussein was evil, coupled with the lie that he was somehow behind 9/11, a pure fiction.
The reason I keep insisting that there was a relationship between Iraq and Saddam and al-Qaeda, because there was a relationship between Iraq and al-Qaeda.
Today, many Americans still believe Hussein had something to do with 9/11, never mind a long history with the United States where we funded him and gave him weapons. Knowing the full context doesn't justify or excuse anything Saddam Hussein ever did, nor does it make him not evil. He was evil. But the public deserves to know. That's how wars often work. The government has a narrative. The modern press sees its job is to just push out that narrative, but not to ask questions and not to give viewers a fuller picture.
We are not encouraging you to agree with what Putin may say in this interview, but we are urging you to watch it. You should know as much as you can. And then, like a free citizen and not a slave, you can decide for yourself.
There is a long history regarding the Russia-Ukraine conflict, much of it centered on NATO, that most Americans just don't know because they've never been told. Instead, they're just told that Putin is evil. And he is. And that's why the establishment class in the U.S. is so mad at Tucker Carlson right now. He's going to offer an alternative perspective.
Tucker Carlson is neither a journalist nor a reporter, but he has played one on TV.
That's why real reporters, instead of just repeating their own government's narratives and propaganda, talks to everyone, friend, foe, and everyone in between. That's why it's good that Tucker Carlson is interviewing Putin so long as he asks real questions. He's doing so-called reporters' job for them.
Tucker Carlson still doesn't have a job. He's in Moscow house hunting, I hope. But no, actually, Tucker is there to interview Vladimir Putin, which is so overtly ridiculous.